My name is Neha. Sorry. Okay, my name is Neha. I have Gaurav sir also along with me, so I'll go with my introduction first, and then I'll pass on to Gaurav sir. And also, would slightly would like to know you guys because that will also help us understanding that what you are looking forward to because the need for each and every individual should be different. So I'll go first with my introduction. So I'm Neha. So I'm full-time definitely a corporate employee. Also have been coaching and associated with Lokesh for more than 5 years. Have already trained. So it's I'm not only for the AI, but I do train different other segment. So yeah, my schedules are totally very much packed. So, but I'll be also taking few of the session for when it comes like little later in the game when it is for interview prep, coaching, mentoring, and that section of the classes. So I'll be jumping it, but most priorly that entire all the technical sessions of AI what we have is being handled by Gaurav sir. And once Gaurav finishes his introduction, we'll love to know you guys and what you're looking for. Where are you? Do you know about insurance? So there are few liners like if you work, you are new, or you have any corporate experiences, right? Certain things and what you're looking forward from the class. So that will help us understanding a lot better to design and go forward from there. All right. So thanks so much for joining. I'll pass into Gaurav for his introduction. Gaurav, over to you.
Hey everyone, this is Gaurav. So I lead fraud strategy division for a tier one bank in US, and I've been in US for about 11, 12 years. But I have overall about 15 years of experience, 15 plus years of experience now. I graduated from IIT Delhi. My majors was like of course, just going through the normal route of the IIT JEE, and then afterwards 5 years program of both masters and masters. And then I've been kind of in mostly financial institutions ever since, building scalable machine learning solutions. This is across fraud detection and marketing analytics, and then also some consulting experience, which was again via some financial institutions only. As Neha mentioned, that we will be going through and we have a little bit of material prepared as well, so we'll go through some of that. But for today's conversation, the main aim is to first of all introduce ourselves and then also get to know from you what are some of the things that you are looking for. When it comes to the generative AI and agentic AI space, it's kind of ever evolving. I mean, you're just sort of scratching the surface at this point in time. Even the bank that I work for, there is a revolution, for the lack of a better word, happening at this point in time, where pretty much each and every division is rushing towards implementing some form of AI, and there's a huge, huge demand in order to kind of learn more, incorporate more, but at the same time make sure that we're not breaking anything. We are all hands on board when it comes to my institution where I work, to kind of hire more and more people for us to get to a world where most of the decisions that are being made when it comes to enhancing the customer experience or detecting any kind of fraud, that should be driven by AI. So definitely, this is one of those skills that you would like to have as you move forward. And if you do master, and this is not just about the technical aspect of it, but also communicating effectively with people who does not have a technical experience. Once you master some of these things, then nothing is going to stop you from earning huge dollars if you're in the US or if you're in the India or any other countries or whatever the local currency is. That's a high level introduction about myself. I'm going to take a quick pause, see if there are any questions. But then apart from that, I would also like to open the floor and then ask from you guys, where are you from? And then what are some of the key skills that you are looking forward to learn?
Thanks, Gaurav. That was good. So yeah.
Yeah, I initiate that. I am Venkatesh and I am a cybersecurity guy. I am here to know that how this agentic AI help in my field, cybersecurity. Hello?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Thanks.
Venkatesh, if I may ask a quick question, could you also tell me a little bit more about where you
Yeah,
out
I
of
am
and
okay. I am Venkatesh. I am a cybersecurity person. I am here to know that how the agentic AI will help me in cybersecurity field.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Really good to know.
Yeah, thanks, Venkatesh. Any other leads before we start in calling name? Go ahead and why? Any volunteers after Venkatesh?
Hi,
Hi.
this is Nitesh here.
You
I work
continue.
as a web analyst and
But you're
I
breaking up, Nitish, you're breaking up.
okay, is it better now?
Yeah, thanks.
Hi, this is Nitesh here. I am a web analyst working from Bangalore. And I was just going through Instagram and then I saw your ad and I just sort of knowing about the program. Basically, I'm not a coder, and I was looking to see how can I, basically, my concern was about how to can deploy agentic AI, how can we use different stuff, because that is where I am confused. I don't know how to deploy it.
Yeah, I understand. Look, I think we will definitely go through some of these things in the course, but I can give you a high level at this point in time.
Okay.
If you think about it, there's a lot that depends upon the organization or the use case that you're talking about, right? So I'll probably just start with the one that where I work, fraud detection for, let's say, financial institutions. Um, One is the actual production environment deployment, which again, it's kind of very case to case basis, depends type of tech stack that the organization has. But for learning purpose, and that will basically enable you to kind of crack any interviews or sort of, put your step into the door of this entire world. You can essentially use Python, right? And to your point, and it's actually to your advantage, even if you don't know a whole lot of coding, even in Python, having like a basic understanding of Python and then getting started from there is going to be very helpful. So the way I'll be conducting the overall course is first of all, I'll give like a basic introduction about Python. I'll also share some of the course material, but then right afterwards, we will move towards a little bit of stats. And this is again just to kind of make you dangerous enough so that you can speak to some of the basic technicalities of anything which is LLM, right? And for the most part, you will see that it's going to be revolving around neural network. Then afterwards, we'll move towards transformer network, and then that's where your actual deployment of these models will work. You will see that the structure that we have right now is most probably going to change in like 6 months from now, but it's only going to get easier and easier for you to deploy. Right now, there's probably going to be like 50, maybe 100 lines of code for you to kind of take care of everything end to end. But I feel fairly confident 6 months down the line that will even shrunk further. Important thing is to understand high level the type of use case that we are trying to solve for, and also get your hands dirty, right? Sometimes things work, sometimes things don't work. You keep on trying again and again, and then soon enough you will see that you have a good marketable solution that is useful for you to kind of crack in interviews, or also it's also going to be useful for you to um, deploy actually in production.
Thank you.
Of course. Anyone else? Okay, no worries. So again, I'm not in a
Yeah,
cold
I'm
call
audible.
anymore.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead, go ahead. Yes.
Hi. So,
Hi, Ram.
hi, my name is Ram Gopal Bomera. I have overall the 18 years experience with the IT industry, IT securities. Give me a second. Sorry. Okay. So, from the last 16 years, I'm with IBM and I was working as the security consultant overall, the kind of from initial the 6 years I was with the managed security services, the purely the technical guy who used to manage the deep security, the antivirus, the semantic McAfee, the EPO, overall the endpoint orchestration. So from last 7 and 8 years, I am working as a cybersecurity assurance managers with a strong experience in the security governance, compliance, and the audit management. I work with the cross-functional teams like all this level processes in terms of the patch management, vulnerability management, security management. I name anything like all the 11 processes of the security. And to I work with, as I said, I work with the cross-functional teams to strengthen the controls, they improve the security posture, and ensure the smooth coordination during the error assessment. So my focus is on delivering the reliable security assurance, supporting the resilient operations across the enterprise of my customers.
Mm-hmm.
Expectation from this course, like how I can utilize the AI in terms of my regular BAU, how can I do in a kind of the smart way, like could be in an automated way, or how can I reduce my the manual efforts in terms of like what we are doing for like 40 hours or uh, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, how can I reduce the time from longer hours to the minimum, and how effectively I can deliver this in a smart way to my customer.
Yes, I understand that. That's what all the leadership are running right now.
Yeah.
So I hear that a lot in my organization as well, that cost cutting and putting AI to deliver a lot of work. So I do see where you are coming from. So thanks, Ram. That was very, very helpful. Yeah, guys, I just wanted to tell you guys one thing. Don't hesitate to ask any question. No questions are dumb questions, right? Keep this floor like a very in a friendly conversation where like you are not judged. Number one, we all come from somewhat the different background, because all of has everybody has somewhat the other different question. Don't think that whatever the question you're going to ask or you're going to tell is not relevant. So nothing is irrelevant. Okay, and when you speak that way, help us, because the other kind of classes which I do take, I do hear a lot from our candidates, and they become very friendly. So that will help us to understand you, and in turns, that will help us making our course better design on explanation, so that you know what you're looking for. Right. So which is why we wanted to know a little bit from you guys, which will help us. Like, say, for other classes which I do conduct, there are people who are from completely non-IT backgrounds, right? So that will help me then I take some extra effort to make them understand how IT works, right? So just giving throwing some examples. So which is why we wanted to know from you. But yeah, feel free if you want to talk to, but there is no, like Gaurav said, right? We are not forcing you to speak, but if you like to speak that what you are learning from, it will help us and help you as well. Everybody who's in this class right now. Okay, Gaurav, over to you. If anyone wants to speak, please speak. Raise your hand, or Gaurav, to you. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Someone is saying something?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say something. My name is Nana Prince, so I work a little bit in the security, and later on moved to um, the construction um, data. So working as a data analyst in the construction industry. Uh, Saw this being advertised, so I just wanted to come to the class, to the demo session, see how this can relate to, data analysts in the construction industry. A lot of AI nowadays, that's where the world is moving to. So just wanted to see what the relation it has um, with in terms of construction and data.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, we all are on the similar thought process, like how long the AI can change the world.
Again,
Right.
so I don't have a whole lot of background when it comes to the construction industry per se, but I do have a lot of experience when it comes to the data analytics and then how to sort of use data to take like intelligent decisions across any use case, right? So what my goal here is to enable you so that you can think through and see that what is best and how can you use a solution like Agentic AI or generative AI for your use cases. And of course, I'm not going to pretend that I know anything about construction except for the fact that I live in a house which is built by some construction company. But with that said, let's have a conversation about this, right? Let's talk through what are some of the things that you guys do, and then I can also brainstorm with you on how can we use a solution like this to sort of increase the overall operational efficiency on some of the use cases that you are working on.
Okay, all right. Maybe we can talk about it later. I don't want to hold a class, so we can go on. I can reach out to you and we can have a conversation on that.
Of course.
Thank you. And the one working at IBM, I've been applying to IBM for years. Nobody's called. But anyway, we can continue the class. Thank you so much.
Hopefully after this course.
Oh,
Okay. So I think we're done with the introduction. Then I guess we can get started with some basic set of materials that we have prepared. Once again, as I said, that when we'll go through the overall course structure, we'll first of all get started with Python, because you'll see that we will be using that a lot. Now, there are certain things, we prepared the overall material in a certain way, which will start from the basics of Python. But if there are certain things that you guys already know that I can keep on skipping it, not an issue. Then right afterwards, we'll get into a little bit of stats. And for stats, I think it's not only good, but also kind of very, very critical for you to understand how does a neural network work. Because pretty much everything that you do in generative AI, not talking about agentic, but generative AI, is absolutely based off of neural net. So having a good understanding of the mathematics behind it, and also understanding the structure of any neural network, will be very foundational. So we'll spend some time there. And then afterwards, we'll move on to the transformers. We will also talk a little bit about some of the basic structure of the ChatGPT or the Llama, and some of the other AIs that is available. And then we'll keep on sort of building some of the use cases. As I mentioned, that I work in a financial institutions, so I'll get started with something which is based off of fraud detection or the risk identification. But to be honest, you can keep on extrapolating it to any industry. You can do it for marketing, you can do it for security, do it for construction. And for that matter, I think I would need your expertise to guide me on what are some of the use cases that you are looking for to kind of solve some of these problems. You know, share the slides.
I can share this. Sorry, guys. I can share this slide for today's demo session, what Gaurav sir has prepared. So give me a second. And give me a second, guys. Yes. Yes. Give me a second. Can you guys see the screen? Can you guys see our screen?
Yes, we can see them.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Yes. So yeah, Gaurav, over to you. You can just go next. Yeah.
So as we mentioned earlier, right, that for today's conversation, we'll just talk like very high level generative AI, agentic AI. So if you think about it, generative AI is essentially the actual brains behind the overall the architecture, right? So Gen AI, if you think about it, when it comes to fraud, will essentially tell you what are some of the high risk signals that you have when let's say a customer is doing any kind of a transaction, right? Um, so let's say if I'm a customer and I'm trying to make a transaction of $20,000, and usually I do a transaction of $500, that's an out of pattern behavior. Now, for a human being like you and me, that's kind of very easy to understand, right? That what is the out of pattern behavior. But for a machine, so far we used to have like a very descriptive rule-based approach where you will create the variables. You will essentially tell the model that look for any kind of out of pattern behavior when it comes to the amount or the IP addresses or the device that the person has been using. And then based off of that, you tell me the overall riskiness of any activity. With the advent of Gen AI, pretty much all of those things can potentially be automated, right? So Gen AI can essentially look at all of your data, your historical information, and based off of that, it can define for itself what are some of the high risk signals that I should be looking for. So that's essentially, and as the name suggests, this is where you are kind of trying to generate something. Now, when it comes to the typical the setups like ChatGPT, you would have seen, you will ask a question, it will generate a bunch of text. That's one way of thinking about Gen AI, where it's kind of generating the text or the response to the questions that you're asking. But if you extrapolate this to, let's say, FI, it could be generating the overall riskiness of a transaction. For construction, maybe it could be generating the leads or the overall price of a particular property in a given area. For the cyber security, and again, I'm not going to pretend that I know a whole lot for cyber security. It could be something in the lines of that you want to kind of ensure that the infrastructure that you have does that have enough level of security for you to kind of defend against any kind of cyber attacks that might be happening, right? So imagination of how do you want to use it is totally up to you, but those are some of the things that the Gen AI can help you with. Agentic AI, on the other hand, it has nothing to do with the actual predictiveness of the process. It's the overall setup that helps you automate the end-to-end process, right? So let me again going back to the example of banking industry. Agentic AI is essentially going to help you. Let's say a customer initiates the transaction. In the real time, your system will identify what is the potential high riskiness of this process of this transaction. And then afterwards, it will take some automated action. It can send you a one-time password. It can also ask you to contact the bank, or it can also, just set up a case and ask a human being to review it a little bit more. Now, you see, all of these things so far, it used to be very much rule-based and semi-automated so far in the banking industry. And you'd be surprised to know that most of the banks typically have more than 500 to 1,000 odd people just looking at this entire end-to-end pipeline. And with this agentic AI, what you need is set of people who essentially understand the process end to end. And once you have the system working, literally all you have to do is just keep on monitoring, right? So when we go through this coursework, we will essentially just try to understand some of these things and try to deploy some of these things ourselves as well. Now, as we go through the coursework, we will keep on referencing some of the materials, but we will also share the materials with you. I think, given the fact that in a class you will have 1 hour approximately, so it's kind of very difficult to sort of go through the entire material. So there's going to be like a little bit of homework and also some material for you to reference it for offline, your study, and then you can come back with the questions. What's another thing that's going to help me a lot is if you can just send me some of the questions that once you're going through the material offline, so that I can prepare a response to that. So maybe we can spend like first 5 or 10 minutes going through all the questions that you guys have sent, and then afterwards actually spending the rest of the course to build on top of where we left off in the last class. I'm gonna take a quick pause, see if there are any questions. No? Okay, cool. Keep moving forward. As we mentioned, what is Gen AI? I think these are some of the things that we have essentially gotten from internet. Like, it's a typical definition. The overall understanding of Gen AI so far has been kind of very much in the form of text or image or any kind of a code generations. Code generation is one of the things that's kind of very interesting. What I've been seeing more and more is when it comes to the end-to-end code generation, then Gen AI at this point in time is not mature enough to generate something which is you can potentially deploy it and be done with it. But when it comes to the small functions and a small aspect of things, then it's kind of much more efficient than a human being. And that's where something that you can use Gen AI potentially and have like an architecture which will be looking through the angle of agentic AI. But completely relying on Gen AI is going to be not very helpful in the shape and form that it is right now. It's as it says over here, it just learns from the large data set and generates the output based on the patterns. Now, this is a critical important thing, that the large data set does not have to be text. I know that we do use it a lot as a text in, let's say, Grok or ChatGPT, but it doesn't have to be. You can very well have like a actual data which is in the numbers, and then use that for you to kind of generate the future or also predict something. So moving on. Now, when it comes to the how does the Gen AI work, we do use ML and deep learning techniques. So if you think about it, as I mentioned earlier, pretty much in the background, you have a sophisticated neural network, which is essentially looking at the input that you are providing. And any kind of a typical neural network will have like 3 different layers. You'll have input layer, hidden layer, and an output layer. And you will have a lot of these small parameters that you will have to tweak through. What type of loss functions would you be using, and what is going to be your learning rate, and so on and so forth. And based off of that, you will essentially build these type of models. Now, the beauty of Gen AI is pretty much all of those things are packaged already. So you don't have to start from the scratch. So about 5 years ago, if you have to build any kind of a deep neural network, you have to actually start with building your own hidden layer, building your own input layer and output layer. Now you don't have to. You essentially have like a pre-built model. What you have to do is actually build an architecture so that you can expose your data to the model. And the model itself will essentially just get used to the data that you're sharing, and then what are some of the potential outcomes that you're expecting. And then from there on, the model can take care of itself. That said, you don't have to do that. You can also pretty much just start from the scratch and start building your model based on the neural network. We will try to do some of that. The only problem is that it does require a lot of GPU space. That's one. And even after, hours and hours of your model running, it will not come any close for you to be production ready, right? So that's where I think out-of-box models is kind of much more efficient as compared to starting building things from scratch. Now, if any of you have like a little bit of background in data science, you will actually see this something similar happening in any of the other models as well. Like for instance, if you have XGBoost or the GBM model, there is a prepackaged, which is prepackaged installed version that we potentially use from your sklearn, right? Scikit-learn. And some of those things is kind of much more optimized as compared to if you start to write the actual code to build the model from the scratch. And something similar happens for Gen AI as well. So what we will do is I'll give you a high level of how a neural network, how does a transformer work, but then right afterwards we'll jump into actually using some of the models that you have in production. Agentic AI, as I mentioned earlier, that it's the overall infrastructure and the architecture that you build for you to sort of take the autonomous decisions. For any kind of agentic AI, the way it works is, first of all, you will have to make the system understand that what is your final goal. And then you will have to break it into the steps. And then afterwards, you will use the tools and API to kind of integrate things together. Some people actually say that how is this different from any typical automation? Because automations also do the same thing. You give A and then afterwards B and then C and D. And the automation is essentially just going to learn from you and then just follow through all the steps. The reason why it's not exactly the same and agentic AI is slightly above as compared to your typical automation is because in the background, you also have some sort of a learning happening. So it's not like a very static layer of set of instructions that you're giving to the system, but rather on top of it, you're also giving the feedback to your system to kind of how do you keep on making better decisions. Now, with that said, for some of the institutions, this is an automated process where you will say that 90% of the decisions that you will be making will be based off of the exact criteria that I have given to you, but 10% is going to be based on the random factors, right? And you can be very smart about those 10% random factors. But in the actual production environment, it becomes very difficult because you don't want your models to start taking the random decisions, which is not as per your business needs. So it's always best to kind of have like a static version with your agentic AI. And then afterwards, when it comes to the learning part of it, you can do it in a regular frequency. If you have a bandwidth, you can do it in the weekly basis, monthly basis. For the most part, you will see that the shelf life of some of these models are approximately 6 months to 12 months. But again, depending upon how much bandwidth and the resources do you have, you can keep on updating the infrastructure. So Gen AI, it's more of content generation. For agentic AI, as I mentioned earlier, it's more of the end-to-end autonomous sort of a system and the process that you are developing so that not only you are taking the decision, but you are also taking appropriate action on top of it. Before I move forward, I'm gonna take a quick pause to see if there are any questions, any response that you guys have. Or else I can keep moving forward.
There's some question in the question chat box. Are there any question? Not able to hear anyone or anything. Oh,
Not at the moment.
you're not hearing?
I said not at the moment.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Cool. Okay, then I'll keep moving forward, but at any point in time, if you have any questions, just feel free to stop me. And honestly, like the best way to learn is ask more and more questions. Not that I have answer for all your questions, but we will learn it together, right? All right. So moving forward, let me just figure out the mouse situation here.
I think that, yeah. Yes, like that.
Yeah. I think these are some of the typical use cases, any kind of a content writing, image, video generations, code generations, any kind of a music as well, I guess, like you can use some of that. But to be honest, like the industries where you do see Gen AI is already being implemented and used is, um, content generation, etc., is definitely there. But you have a lot of off tech industry, right? And who are completely not exposed to any kind of a machine learning and or Gen AI at all. And that's where the real opportunity is, right? The idea is to kind of, first of all, fully understand like what are some of the potential of Gen AI and or agentic AI, and then like come up with a creative solution and try to see that how does your day to day look like, and how can I use a system and process like this to kind of make a smarter decision. Now, my job here is to enable you to come up with a thought process like that so that you can like design some of these things yourself. Um, and like, of course, it's going to be iterative. So I'll get you started with like a few use cases, but if you want, you can come up with some of the use cases for yourself, and then we can build it together. Um, these are some of the typical use cases. Sorry, not my computer, so having a little bit of difficulty, but these are some of the use cases for agentic AI. Automated trading bots, customer support automation. Now, this is one of those areas, the customer support automation is something that I'm working on right now. Essentially, the idea is that if the customers are calling in and you have IVRs, and then you also have the chat solution, which is, after you log in, you can actually just talk to the one of the agents. Now, for the most part, you will see for IVRs, this is based on the voice recognition and then voice to text so far. But the problem has been that it's kind of very difficult to understand intent of a call based on the current infrastructure. So if the customer actually uses some of those standard keywords that, hey, I want to change my, let's say, social security number, I want to change my address, I want to make a transfer, and those things, then it is fairly easy. But sometimes the response is from the customers, they are not as coherent. And sometimes when the human beings are talking, they're essentially just making their own thoughts. And sometimes the problem itself is fairly complicated. So for all of those situations, the call containments becomes fairly big of a problem. So any of the IVR systems, if you go to for any of the typical institution, you'll see the call containment rate is about 20 to 30%, based on the automated solution. And for the most part, the human beings kind of gets pissed off very quickly, and they will say, I don't want to talk to a machine, just get me to a human being who can actually understand what I'm trying to say. But it's very costly. Each of the call typically cost about $7 to $8 if you're based out of the US. Um, Depending upon how long the call takes and if you're outsourcing or not. But any kind of the insourcing, which is like if you have your own workforce, then also it approximately costs like $4 to $5. Now, if you think about like the hundreds of these calls that you're receiving every hour, then it just adds up very quickly. Solution like Agentic AI can essentially understand the context of what you're trying to do, perform most of the things through the machine itself, which is through the IVR itself. So I'll give you the example. Let's say if I call in and I say, I would like to make a transfer of, let's say, $100 to this particular person, the system will first of all understand the context. And then afterwards, based on the phone number that you're calling from, it can make some smart decision to, first of all, authenticate that you are really the customer and which account are you talking about. And then afterwards, it can do the transfer on your behalf. And while doing so, it will also be looking at some of the historical transactions that you have done. Is there any kind of a out of pattern activity happening there, and so on and so forth. So those are some of the things that we are trying to explore right now. But I'm pretty sure the other institutions, they have some of the other use cases, which is not just related to IVR. I see a person, I think, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the name right, Nana. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I see you have supply chain optimization. How does that apply to supply chain?
Um, so once again, this is like more of example that I gotten from like some of the friends and families who have been working in the industry. But the way I understood your overall supply chain, like say for instance, if I'm like a retail, I have to get like uh, the inventories, etc., from like multiple different vendors, right? And then also need to make sure that the inventory that I do have it is pretty much optimized. I also need to kind of take into consideration of the price of the inventory that I have as compared to the price that I have in the industry. Shelf life is kind of another thing. And then I also need to make sure that I keep on selling the products in time, right? So the point being here that the number of factors that I need to take into consideration for me to kind of optimize on the overall operational efficiency is kind of way too many, right? Now, of course, there are certain processes in place which will essentially help you do that, but whether or not those processes are taking the most optimum decision is kind of up for grab, right? So something like Gen AI can essentially help you design that. And if you can just teach the model that these are some of the parameters that you will have to tune, and this is what the winning is going to look like. If you do X, Y, Z, then afterwards the overall optimum solution will look something like this. Then it will keep on kind of looking through the patterns and essentially try to optimize on top of it, right? And once again, I'm not from the supply chain background, but those are some of the things is what I've heard from my friends who are working in the industry is how they are utilizing it. Another thing which is kind of very important is also the pricing analytics. It's not very exactly related to the supply chain, but the folks who are working there also kind of work closely with the pricing team to take a look at some of the inventories that they have and what is the current market price. And they have to stay competitive in the market. So they need to kind of predict a little bit of pricing of the inventory that they have. Um, so that also helps in terms of predicting that how much of inventory should I have? Is it if I have a shelf life of let's say 5 years, what's wrong is just kind of when the prices go down, just stock up for next 5 years. Is that the right decision or it's a bad idea because you will have to pay for a lot of storage as well? I think optimizing some of those things is also where you can use a sophisticated model like this, right? Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Of course. And thanks for answering the question. All right, so I'll keep moving forward. And so why does it matter, right? And first of all, it just saves time and cost, increases your productivity, enables any kind of automation, improves the decision making, and drives innovation. These are some of the things that I can think of. But to be honest, people who are working in a different industry, they can come up with their own set of list. There are a lot of industries out there where we are not using data analytics at all. And one of the areas that I have seen where we don't use as much of data analytics is anytime that you're interacting with a customer, right? There's not a whole lot of set KPIs that essentially defines whether or not this was a good call or bad call. Pretty much we rely on the customer surveys, right? After the call, would you be open to kind of give like a customer survey? And honestly speaking, if customer essentially are happy and if they are happy with the decisions and that goes in their favor, they will probably not give you any feedback or maybe a good feedback. But if they are not happy, then in that case, you're definitely getting a bad feedback. But this does not essentially answers the question about whether or not that was the most efficient call. Did you get to the actual problem identification as soon as possible? Were you able to authenticate the customer or like actually identify that the customer's problem and get to a solution as soon as possible? Some of those things are not done at all right now. So even for the training team, the way they usually work is they will listen through sample through some of the calls and they will try to understand whether or not when we are interacting with the customer, was that the right like set of things that we asked the customer and were we able to kind of wrap up the call as soon as possible or not? But there is no systemic way of doing it, and there is only so many calls that you can review. And plus, even for the people who are reviewing through, there is this human judgment bias. And that's where the system like Gen AI and Agentic AI, it can actually provide you a very black and white solution where it can be fair and at the same time accurate enough for you to kind of assess that today we made about like 200 calls. And out of those 200 calls, the overall effectiveness was on the scale of 1 to 100, about 70. And here are the things that we could have potentially improved upon, right? And then afterwards, you can keep on asking the system, okay, show me some examples where you have this thing that did not perform as intended. And then afterwards, from there on, you can work with the people who are taking up the call to train them and enable them for future enhancements. In terms of industry adoption, banking and finance, that's one thing I can assure you that it's like, as I mentioned earlier, for the lack of a better word, it is a revolution at this point in time. Every single, industry, like the line of business, either they already understand what to do, or even for the people who don't understand, they definitely want to understand and adopt something to do with AI, which could be your Gen AI or which could be your Agentic AI. Healthcare, the way I could think of is any kind of drug that's kind of being synthesized right now. There are like so many different parameters that they have to optimize and tune upon. So it becomes very difficult for them to sort of do it with the conventional system. Now, with that said, I do have a little bit of a biotechnology background, so I do understand that um, the healthcare industry is one of those industries who have been using advanced machine learning techniques for like a very, very long time. 15 years ago, like so about 17 years ago, when I did my graduation, even at that point in time, some of the folks, they were already working on neural network. And we are talking about neural network based generative AI right now. So definitely they are ahead of the curve. But with that said, that's some of the use cases that they might be working on. Retail and e-commerce, as I mentioned earlier, it definitely helps you with the overall inventory optimization and also pricing analytics. Education, I think we all use it. People who are teaching, people who are learning, and people who want to assess the response from the people who are learning, etc. Manufacturing is another area which is where you can use something like Gen AI for you to make like most optimized decisions. And then again, as I said, that people who are actually working in the industry, they can be as creative as they want. Essentially, the idea is to understand the framework and then keep on exposing yourself more and more to different use cases. That's about it. And I think I had like a few more slides, which is more about demo session plans and the future of AI and so on. But I'm going to take a quick pause, see if there are any questions from you guys, and then how do you guys feel about the overall content? Yeah. All right. Seems like nobody has any questions at this point in time. Um, Here's another thing. Right now, I'm traveling, so I've come to India, so I'll be here for a few weeks, and afterwards, I'll be going back to US. So at that point in time, you will have a lot more regular classes. Uh, One other thing that I would request you all to do is set up your environment before the class. Of course, I'll help you as well, but it'd be good to kind of have like a basic infrastructure in place. Make sure that you have a good working computer. Both Mac or Windows-based system works, and try to install some of the basic things like Python. Have like a good IDE, and even if you don't have it, then again, don't worry. I'll just guide you through the process when we are doing it. Uh, Sorry, go ahead, Indan.
Hello. Yeah, so
See your
my
question.
question is for this course, do we have any prerequisite like shall I required to know Python or anything? Because there are courses where they ask people like you should have some basic understanding of so and so things. So if I directly jump into it, then uh, how it's going to work for me? Is it worth, or do you have any prerequisites before?
I wouldn't
Just
say prerequisite because look, I think there are people who have been working with Python for a long time, right? For them, there's definitely an advantage because you speak in that language. But with that said, the way I'll be conducting this course is I'll give you a high level for Python as well. So as long as you know the basics of any kind of how does a computer work and how to kind of work through any
Mhm,
kind of ID, that's good enough. There is going to be four main section of the overall course, right? We'll get started with Python, right? Then afterwards, we'll go
mhm,
into some of the basic statistics
mhm,
of how does the predictive analytics look like. Then we'll talk about how does a neural network look like. Then finally, we'll jump into the
mhm,
actual use cases of Gen AI and the Agentic
mhm,
AI. Agentic AI is essentially nothing but an overall flow of how do you want to use Gen AI. But as I mentioned
mhm,
earlier, right, that a lot of these things are going to be API-based connectivity and things like that. So even if you don't have much of a background, it's fine. I think only thing I would request is you'll have to put a lot more effort, right? So Every course that we will be every class that we'll be conducting, we will essentially, first of all, enable you to think through some of the things that will be discussed in the next class. But I would request you to kind of come prepared with some of the materials that is being shared or the topic if I am kind of asking you to kind of go through.
Okay,
I would,
so you will notify in advance, like what is the prerequisite for the upcoming course, so that like upcoming class, so
yeah,
that
yeah,
we
yeah.
all shall be prepared. Okay, and
Right,
what
right.
is the tenure of this entire program? Sorry, I'm asking. Maybe I joined late, so just
Approximately, when you say tenure, you mean like duration of the overall
yeah, yeah,
course?
yeah,
I see.
yeah. Overall.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be somewhere around approximately 2 months. And once again,
Okay.
usually when we conduct a course like this,
Mm-hmm.
it again depends upon how is the overall response from from the people who are learning through. If
Mm-hmm.
there are certain sections that you already know, right, then I don't,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone kind of knows in the class, then we don't have to go through that topic, right? But if there are certain
Mm-hmm.
sections that, let's say, 20% of people don't know, that I would still go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and take you through that. And for the rest of the 80%, they can stay in the class, treat it as a refresher, or
Mm-hmm.
they can even drop off. But irrespective, I will touch upon each and every topic unless and until everyone says that, yes, I'm totally good with this. And based on that, actually, the sometimes I've seen that the actual courses even extends a little bit beyond 2 months. It does take a
Mm-hmm.
bit more as well, but I have seen instances that people were kind of fairly well versed and they didn't want to kind of go through some of the basics of Python. So I kept touching upon topic. Very good with the NumPy. How do you create a class? How do you create a functions? And if people already know, just
Mm-hmm.
skip,
Mm-hmm.
and then so that basically just saves a little bit of time.
Yeah, I
So
would
two
like to
months
add.
is like over the weekends, or like is
No,
it
no. So,
regular
yeah, I
It's
would
from?
like to add one thing. Sorry, Gaurav. I'd like to add, based on all the other classes which we conduct, like what Gaurav said, pretty much yes. And time will little bit, because all of us, we all work full time, right? And our offices, and sometimes there are breaks. You guys take breaks. You have recording available. Like trainer can take little bit of break. So we'll try to best suit number of classes. That's what we are right now working on, that how many class all Gaurav is working on and conducting, like what is the best for, because we are going little bit depth, and we need to take everybody consideration, like not all candidates are being treated equally if somebody does not know, because I know a lot of people are curious enough to learn, and that's what we have seen for other classes. So somebody who has, like, need to consider everyone. So if somebody is knowing, they'll have to listen the same material what someone is not knowing, because we need to make everybody on the ground at the same level. So that's what we are predicting, that the kind of coursework which we are going to do could be 2 months, could be little longer, little lesser. We'll come to that, and then definitely when there is a courses finish, we'll let you guys know in advance that okay, these many topics are left. We are gonna finish it in we all wanted to finish soon, but it does not work that way, because there are people who ask questions, they try to understand, they ask the again explanation. There are different set of people. So that's what we have been seeing in other classes. But yes, it's totally, so that's what we are thinking, right?
Yeah.
And Gaurav is planning up, like, how to cover it. But yes, we will not skip anything if a student has a question and we cannot not answer that and just go to the topic. Our main aim is not to just finish off something which is like completely bookish, but you should be able to utilize that in your organization, some or the other form where you are working. So the aim is like to make you AI enable how much we can. I know this is like a C,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what Gaurav has been tending, and
Mm-hmm.
we have been working together to design this particular one to finish up. Yeah, we all wanted to finish up sooner, but yes, we have seen that in other classes does not work that way, the way we think. Yeah, Gaurav, your
Right.
point.
And I also want to say that in the end, like once the core course is complete, then I want to kind of keep a little bit of time for people who are interested in, let's say, how do I capture some of these things in my resume, right? What if I don't
Mm-hmm.
have any experience in, let's say, Gen AI, but I do want to explore a role and I have a X number of years of experience, but now I want to pivot and I want to change course and kind of get more into the data analytics and machine learning and Gen AI, that kind of thing. So I want to kind of keep a little bit of time for that. And again, it's not for everyone. It's just part of the course. So if you're interested in that, by all means, do join some of those sessions. But essentially, the idea is going to be that we'll have like some of the sample resumes where we will basically it's like a 3 layer of resumes, right? So one is I don't know anything about Gen AI, but I want to kind of course correct. And here are some of the things what are some of the things that I can add in my resume. Then I'm already an intermediate layer, and then I want to kind of um, just get like explore more of the other roles that you have in the industry. And then the third one is, of course, that I'm in the leadership position, and I wouldn't say that a senior leadership, but more of like a mid layer management. I have 2 to 3 layer of people who are already reporting to me. How do I kind of incorporate some of the learnings that I have from Gen AI as a part of my resume? So we'll add some of that as well. What we don't have though is the actual interview preparation. And that's one of the things that's something that we don't cover as a part of this course. But if you are interested in something like that, to let me know. We can chat outside.
Mhm. And after completing this course, what you mentioned, can I consider that few job roles I am ready to fit in, like prompt engineer, the very basic, uh,
Yeah.
you know. So just wanted to ask, like which are the very comfortable roles that I'll be easily fitting in, or can I pitch myself in that particular roles after doing this course, so that I can
Yeah.
choose it, prompt engineer, AI engineer, Gen AI engineer. So which all roles you think after doing your course one will be very comfortable to adapt that as per their convince. So can you please give us some light on that?
Yeah, yeah. So look, I think the way we have structured the course, I mean, if you think about it, any of the core analytics roles, you have like a three different areas, right? One is the people who actually develop the logic behind it, right? This is the one that where you will need a good, thorough understanding of mathematics, thorough understanding of stats. We will cover some part of it, but again, for this particular area you are absolutely required to have a any kind of a degree, which might be your PhD or it might be your master's, right? But with that said, I've
Mm-hmm.
seen a lot of instances where that's not the case. So that's like one
Mm-hmm.
area, which is like the actual development of these neural network model. Second area is that's where I think you will see most of the hiring is happening is sort of a jack of all trades. I should know enough to use all the tools that you have in the industry available, some of the models that is already available in the industry. I should be able to, I don't have to kind of write the code from the scratch where I'm kind of building the neural network and I'm kind of building through all those hidden layers and so on and so forth. But rather, if I have a package available, how do I integrate this into the production environment? And then how do I kind of make the business sense of it? So that's one of the areas that you're seeing that there's a lot of hiring happening. Then you have a third area as well, and that's equally important, is the people who are not really working the technical aspect of things, but they are more working from the prompt engineering, but um, effectively communicating to the people who are not from the technical background, right? I'll give you the
Mm-hmm.
example of the same thing that we just talked about, which is IVR-based system. So you have, let's say, 200 people who are working in a particular work stream, um, and I need to kind of convince the leadership of that particular team that if you use a solution like this, here is how it can potentially positively affect you, right? Um, I do need to have like a solid understanding of what are some of the pros and cons of the infrastructure that I'm building. And also, I need to have like a good understanding of what are some of the things that I can achieve if I have a solution like this. Then I need to work closely with that team to understand what are some of the problems that they're facing, how do they conduct their day to day, and how can a solution like this be implemented. So you see that like my role in that point in time is more of consultative, and at the same time I do need to have like a very solid understanding of how does a Gen AI or Agentic AI work, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have all of these three different roles. While there is a solid overlap, which is the actual understanding of the what does Gen AI do and what does Agentic AI do, the actual core skill sets might be different, right? For the first one, you need to have like a very good understanding of mathematics and stats behind it. For the second one, you need to have a good understanding of what's happening in the industry and also what are some of the models available and how do I integrate it. For the third one, you need to have understanding of first and second, but you have to be excellent communicator. And you also have to be a good innovator so that you can think out of the box And there are like a lot of white papers available by um, the some of these consulting organizations, and you can go through that as well, right? And how to kind of think through and design some of these problem and solutions, right? So third one is where it's more of a extrovert type of a role where you have to do a lot of communication. And honestly speaking, it really
Mm-hmm.
depends upon you. Where do you want to see
Mm-hmm.
yourself? Right? Once you will go through the course, you will actually realize that there are certain things that you are liking. There are certain things which is, I mean, I like it, but that's not my thing that I want to do for a long time. I've seen people who actually get very fascinated with coding, get very fascinated with mathematics, and they want to kind of stay in the background, just let me do my thing, and I don't want to do too much of communication. Maybe the use case one and use case two could be good for them. But at the same time, there are certain people who are like, the actual core coding and things like that is not one of the areas that I want to explore a whole lot. But at the same time, I do want to solve the problem for people. I want to explore this, and maybe the use case two and use case three that I just talked about is something that is for them. Right? It's totally up to you. Where do you want to go?
And Gaurav, I have one last question. Like on the practical perspective, are we
Mhm.
going to use any cloud AI infrastructure from
Okay.
Google or Amazon or Microsoft, like the already pre-built LLM models that they have,
We will.
or the
We will. We will. Yeah, we
yes,
will. I
yes.
mean, see, the idea is to kind of actually take one use case, and banking is one of the industry which is my strongest forte, so I'll probably get started with that.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is to kind of get our hands dirty, right? That's the best way to learn it. So we will be using the infrastructures, and we will be deploying and implementing the model. One other thing that I want you guys to kind of get very comfortable with is not having like a very sophisticated solution and not focusing too much on the, let's say, you few of the key parameters, and we'll talk about that once we go through the model. A few of the key parameters that we keep on track of is Gini coefficient, right? And then accuracy deviations. Don't get too hung up
Mm-hmm.
on those key parameters while we are learning through. Those things come with time. But important thing is to
Mm-hmm.
kind of have a model, right? Have a model that can do your thing. It might not be the most effective and the most accurate model that you're deploying in production, but the important thing is to kind
Mm-hmm.
of know how to do that. And then once you're done with that, then understanding that you have these AUC, ROC, and all those good things that's going to help you understand whether my decision was accurate or not. Then I know keep on
Mm-hmm.
working towards feature engineering and essentially ensuring that you keep tweaking your parameters so that your model is getting more and more accurate, right? So the second part is something that I can get you started with, but
Mm-hmm.
honestly speaking, that comes with the experience. Like for instance, I do have many years of experience in banking industry, so I can help you with what are some of the key parameters that you can tweak for you to have like effective model that will be best to identify very low event rate phenomena that such as fraud. But when it comes to construction,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, as someone mentioned earlier, I am not sure what are some of those key parameters, but that's where you will come in and you will tell me that in construction, these are some of the things that I think could be potentially helpful. If someone is working in retail, you will tell me that these are some of the things that I have seen in my past that is potentially helpful. These infrastructure or this type of project, sorry, this type of models also helps you generate um, the features that can potentially be helpful in terms of predicting these. But you will soon enough realize that one is you actually don't give any kind of a guidance to your model and just let it learn from itself. It does take a lot more computational resources as compared to if you already give a direction that, in my opinion, these are the top 100 or 200 features, which has been very helpful, and get started with that, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we'll definitely be getting our hands dirty. We'll definitely be getting started with some of the basic type of models when it comes to the banking. But I would encourage you guys to kind of keep on building some of these things yourself as well, right? Okay. I know we're at time, and if you guys have any questions, just send me a note, right? And I know that we have a chat over there, so keep on dropping the questions that you have in terms of the course structure or the things that is required, or in terms of what is on the prerequisites, etc. Hopefully, I was able to clarify most of your doubts, but feel free to kind of drop any questions. I'll keep on sending you the response, and um, uh, of course, once we'll go through the course structure, then also you can have more clarifying questions. Okay.
We have one hand raised. Huh?
I think I have answered most of the
Everything?
questions. And wait, let me see.
Oh.
Could you please share the details of the code structure that you will be covered with this? Yeah.
Okay.
Y-
I'm sorry, I will step out, but just wanted to know, did you clarify like when the course is going to be because you are in transit?
Yeah.
Did you
So
cover all those? Please
I
cover.
think, as I mentioned earlier, right, that currently, right now I am based out of US. However, right now I'm in transit, and we've been traveling to India for a few weeks. And afterwards, and I know this is like a year end, so I also want to kind of charge my battery a little bit. But right afterwards, I'll be going back to US, and then that's when the course will start. And but you can potentially utilize some of this time to just read through a little bit more about Gen AI, and I can also keep on sharing some of the course content material for you as a pre-read, so you don't have to essentially just wait for me to kind of start with the course. As I said, that get started with some of the basics, try to learn a little bit on your own. But in a few weeks' time, when we will get started with the course, then at that point in time, uh, uh, we will actually get into the core details of the course. It's not an expectation from you to kind of read through everything that I'll be sending in like next few weeks, but it kind of depends how much of bandwidth you have and how important it is for you to kind of learn about some of these things. If you feel like this is something very important, I would definitely suggest that start reading through.
Hello.
Bro, just a question from my end, Arpit here. So sorry, I joined bit late initially, so I might have missed. So just wanted to know about your background. Like, do you work as an AI architect or as a generative AI engineer, or what's?
Yeah, so I work in, I think I covered some of these things in the first few minutes in the course. I work in the banking industry, so I have been working in the industry for about like 16, 17 years. I did the graduation from IIT Delhi, and then afterwards, I have been working in analytics ever since. To get started with, we used to build like a regression-based model. Then afterwards, we graduated towards the XGBoost or GBM type of model. Then afterwards, we moved towards more of a reinforcement learning type of model. And right now, everywhere, and that includes my team as well, we've been kind of moving towards Gen AI, right? Trying to explore some of the things. And one of the key use cases that I had explained earlier, that something that we are working on is IVR and chat based Gen AI based solution. Essentially, the idea is to kind of contain most of the call um, based on the interaction that you have in the IVR, right? And for that, you need to kind of understand the intent and context of when the customer is interacting with you. My core area at this point in time for the last many years has been in the fraud detection, and but I have worked extensively in marketing analytics, overall the risk identification, and then I've also done a little bit of consulting work, but that was again for one of our clients from the one of the banking industry clients. That has been like a high level background. But again, as I said, Gen AI is one of those areas that it's kind of so evolving so quickly. Everyone who's kind of working in this is actively learning, and that sort of include myself. I would say that I do have a little bit of edge ahead as compared to some of the other folks because I do have a solid industry understanding, and you realize that um, the the courses that you have typically, which covers the aspect of like the mathematics or things like that, is kind of very much academic in nature. What my goal is going to be is to kind of enable you so that you know what actually works in the industry, but not just be like academics ready, but rather be industry ready, right? Does that answer your question, Arpit?
Yeah, and I think, yeah, that was a very detailed explanation. But yeah, Gaurav doesn't want to talk about his achievement, but he is the head of all the data science team in the World Bank, which he's dealing. So your answer is yes, he's the head of all the data science analytics team. So in the short answer, but he doesn't want to say that, but I would like to tell you that.
No, that's a good thing. Like to have the idea and learning about the Gen AI and Agentic AI, what's going on in the industry. But
Mm-hmm.
on top of it, the aim is like to transition into a role where we can, uh, try for internal job movement within the organization. And once we get confidence, we can try outside. So that is the main
Yeah,
motive.
so and most of the thing part, like we have been taking other classes, right? I have been much involved with Location Institute from many years, right? Like more than 1,000 people. So it depends on kind of, or with what I have seen from like more than 100 of candidates. It depends on the each individual interest also, right? Like for some of my candidates, which I'm taking, or maybe Gaurav would be taking some other classes. So few of them are just for the learning purpose, to know what it is, like not talking from Gen AI, others courses what we take, they are there for my side. I'm talking about my story. They're just for the learning. They have a job. They just wanted to see. Some other candidate, they do not have job and they're so much into the learning. I mean, through the course of time, they're so much prepared that, okay, I'm ready, and they have been getting job. So my answer is very different here. The course or the things what we are learning is totally depend on how we are taking. So if you want to take like full advantage of this, yes, you will be very much ready. You can clear any interview based on your learnings. But if you are like just for the learning purpose and seeing things work and not trying to pivot, it's totally your
It's
call.
more of a practical knowledge and exposure about the real-time projects
Yes.
and to get entry into this area. Otherwise, within our organization, like we keep on getting, trainings and upskilling materials and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
sort
yeah,
of things.
yeah.
So
I
if
see what
we
you're
are
saying.
that much of, proactive, I would have done from there.
Hmm.
I want something, who is actually dealing in this area and working into this.
Yeah, because all the course material, yeah, we all are working in corporate
Because
industry, right? There is
all
nobody to explain us, right? It's a PPT. I have been my corporate industry, my company has been trying us to send to other people also, but those are webinars, right? We don't ask question. It's not a sessions where we ask question. We have a problem, right? I have been through lot like because it's an organization level change and they send some of the leaders to go into all these conferences very happening AI. So I do see I have been through them. They are not like interactive sessions, like they are just a webinar kind of a
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
right?
The
Yeah, so
question
I
is
know
like,
what you're
will
saying,
it be
right?
a training aiming that you will be job ready, like to get most
It
of?
is totally up to you. My answer remain exactly same. So the type of pitch totally up to you. We can share everything, and a lot of people will be. We have been able to get into if they want. Like Gaurav said, you have to do little extra effort. You need to understand how coding works, how things work. Whatever Gaurav sir will be sharing with you, you'll have to do the homeworks, prepare. So if you have done everything out, of course, nobody, no force can universe can stop you from job ready. But what if like an individual will not be able to complete the homework, not be able to complete the coding, not be able to use the use cases, right? And then like at that particular time when we'll think that we are job ready, answer is blank. No, we are not, because we haven't put an effort to learn everything. Like Gaurav sir said, not sure how much you have missed the class, but yeah, feel free to go through the recording. Lokesh sir will be sharing, the institute owner will share the recording. But yes, like said, Gaurav said that you need to know about the statistic, you need to know about all this regression model, whatever the Gaurav will be talking about. I don't want to go into those technical terms, but yes, you need to know when Gaurav is going to send you, you need to know how it is working, and you should be able to translate into your own understanding and the knowledge. So answer totally dependent on you, how much you can take.
No,
Okay.
that's all right. I got it. What you're,
Yeah.
trying to.
Yes. So that's what the answer should be like. It will be very bad to say for any institute or any trainer to say, yes, you'll be ready. No, if you wanted to become ready, yes, we are here to help you. Okay. So that's a short answer. Yeah, Gaurav, do you want to add something?
It's just one
I
quick I
have a
want to add
small
here.
question. Can I speak if you don't mind? My name is Murli.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Gaurav, you want to add something before that? Sorry.
No, go ahead, Murli. I think you had a question, but I see that you're on mute now.
Yeah, we cannot hear you, Murli. But I do see
Yeah,
a
can you hear
Ram.
me now?
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
okay. So I mean I joined through mobile only. Okay, that is the reason. So my question only one thing for the trainer, whoever it is. So I'm into the cyber security, having of 10 years of IT experience. Okay, is this program really help me to go to the AI programming this session? How can anyone give answer on that?
So you wanted to be in the cybersecurity area, or do you want to completely go into insurance, banking, retail? Like, which
No, no,
side do
no,
you
no,
want
no.
to go?
I'm into cyber security, working as a
Mhm.
manager, senior manager. Okay. So how this session of AI will help me in future? That's what my question
The
is.
session, okay. So Gaurav, you want to take?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, right, Murli, that there's three different areas. One is the core, the actual model generation. Second one was model integration. Third one is more of use case building, right? You'll have to first of all decide for yourself based on the core structure that which one suits you the best. Let's say
Mhm.
that if you envision yourself given the number of years experience, and it seems like you also have you're also there in like a mid-level management, you might
Yeah,
not be very much interested in, let's say, going into the technical aspect of things, which is I
right.
don't want to deal with the stats, I don't want to deal with the mathematics, let the analyst handle all of those things. That's totally fine,
Exactly.
right? That is totally fine. And as a part of the course structure, once we will go through some of the use cases, we will keep on talking about end to end, right? So we will say that as an organization, I have this particular business problem. How do I use Gen AI for that? And then we will come up with a
Exactly.
solution, right? And then afterwards, we will say, okay, in order for me to have like a good infrastructure, I need to make sure that these are some of the key things which will be required. And that could potentially be series of models, or it could be just one model. And on top of it, I also need to have like this agentic infrastructure in place so that I can automate some of the decisions that is being already made, right?
Okay.
Now, from your perspective, you might not be interested in, I don't want to go into the actual technical details, but help me, why don't you just help me phrase this so that I can sell the idea to the leadership and I can get the funding from my team, right?
Got it. Okay. So it'll be
And
helping me to utilize some of the modules what are getting training in my real-time experience, where other modules can be utilized, right?
right.
Okay, okay. Uh, So for this course, I joined late. Okay. So is it coding is anything is required for this course? Because I already completed my AWS AI foundational. Okay.
Yeah.
So whatever the basic level is there, I have knowledge on that. Okay. So is that anything in that course? I don't see any coding language or algorithm calculation or encryption concepts in that. So
Yeah.
what about the course which you're going to share? Is there anything? Can you put some highlight if coding is required or not?
Yeah, I can talk about it. And we did cover a little bit of it in the past half of the course. So as I mentioned earlier, right, there's going to be like four broad part. We will get started with first of all Python introduction, and this is going to be very high level, but for you to kind of get like set up the environment and essentially ensuring that for the people who don't have background in Python, they will have a good seat in the table as well. And then I'll keep on sharing some homework on the material that you can reference offline, right?
You
The
meant to
second
say
part,
coding language is required according to you, right?
for if you want to get in the technical aspect of it. But with that said, if you're not interested in going into the technical aspect, you can
Uh,
skip that part and you can go move
okay,
straight up into the second part of it, right? Second
got
part
it.
will be more of stats maths. This is something where you actually have to understand what does it mean, like what is actually sitting behind Gen AI models. What type of infrastructure are we talking about? Like, is that, and you'll see that for that, in order to understand that, you need to have a good understanding of how does a neural network work, right? So we'll talk a little
Mm.
bit about that. Then the third part is going to be the actual model building. That's where we'll get into the Gen AI infrastructure. And then the fourth one is going to be the use case building, right? So that's where it'll be more of interactive sessions. I will need your and everyone else's help for me to kind of come up with the use cases for a different industry. For the industry that I'm already aware of, banking, for instance, and also marketing, I think those things I can help you with. That here is how you think about it if you have a particular problem that you want to solve for. But there are like hundreds of industries out there, right? So I don't have experience in all of them. That's where I'll need your help so that you can tell me that, okay, hey, this is the business problem I'm trying to solve for. Can we think through and work together to figure out what are some of the things that I can do for us to get exposed to Gen AI?
Okay, got it now, got it. So what other related topics are there? I have to focus on that. Whatever the one which I could not, I can skip for that.
Yeah,
But what is the duration of the course? Sorry to ask if you might have repeated. I'll check with Lokesh then. Sorry, this is
yeah,
what
yeah.
I had the question, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
No, of course. And Thank you so much for asking all the questions, Murli. And ballpark, the course duration will be 2 months at the least. Usually, I've seen that it does extend a little bit more because there are certain areas that people have a lot more question around. So if that's going to be the case, then we will keep on hammering on that particular topic up until it is clear for the set of people who have that questions.
Okay.
I think my preference will be to conduct some of these courses over the weekend because that's where I am also free. I don't want to be a time bound that, it's 1 hour duration, 1 hour we're done with it. If you're doing some of these courses over the weekend, that does give me a little bit of flexibility to kind of keep on extending and essentially make sure that all of your questions are answered. But with that said, I am relatively free in the evening time US. That's going to be morning for you during the weekdays as well. But if you guys are working and you have to go to office, I can totally understand and we can make it more weekend heavy, right? So we can talk through some of that. I see two more hands,
Yeah,
Ram and Surojit.
yeah. I do myself ready. I need just adding to Murli. So I'm doing for cybersec for a while, and uh, just quite of queries like, will it be helpful for say to automate using Agentic AI or something for threat hunting, threat modeling, or any such problems, specifically in cybersec? Means to me, I'm looking something more from cybersecurity aspects.
Got it, got it. I mean, I don't think I fully understood your question, Surojit, because your voice was a little bit breaking up. But let me know if I got it correctly. You're saying that you work in cybersecurity and you're interested in exploring Gen AI
Yep.
or
Yes,
cybersecurity.
yes. Means how Genia would be helpful, say, for threat detection, threat hunting, those things
Right, right.
specifically.
Good.
Finding the
So
vulnerabilities.
finding the vulnerabilities, right, right. I mean, I work in fraud detection. Of course, the type of signals that cybersecurity, and I work very closely with the cybersecurity team as well. But again, the exact type of variables that they are looking for does overlap a lot with fraud detection team. So like, I'll give you a simple example. People have been using a lot of proxy servers and virtual machines and VPNs for them to kind of mimic and that this is the signals are really coming from the customer's device while it's actually coming from some other place. People, when they're calling in, then the phone numbers are like there is a possibility that it is already spoofed. So what are some of the key signals that we should be looking for? So when we will go through some of these examples, again, my goal here is to give you the overall architecture of how some of these things work, but not get too much hung up on like let's just how do I fully understand this one particular variable and why is it not coming out as an important thing? That's something that is totally fully up to you. But it's going to be more of an interactive session where we'll get started with one of the examples. And given the fact that I've been working in banking for a long time, that's the data that I'll be using for. But feel free to kind of add to it, right? Tell me that more variables or features that could potentially be helpful, and we will add to that. So
Yeah,
think of it
sure.
like for any of the model, right? Let's say if I have 50 variables that we are getting started with in my keep list, and I can very well have things which is looking for the auto pattern activities or auto pattern signals, but that might very well be the case that it's not exhaustive, right? And that's where the industry knowledge comes into the picture that folks who are working in cyber security industry, they'll tell me that you also need to consider something which is going to help you understand the jailbreak. You also need to kind of understand a little bit more about whether or not the behavioral biometrics or things like that has been used for you to kind of detect whether the authentication happened properly or not, right? So sky is the limit, right? But I'll give you a basic understanding of basic to medium level understanding of what are some of the key features that you should be looking for. Important thing is to understand the overall structure of things, not the variables. Because once you understand the structure, you can essentially just use it in any industry. You can mold it to fraud, you can mold it to, I think someone was working on construction, retail, the customer experience, pretty much everywhere.
Okay. Thank you. And for me, means I'm looking more into the technical side. Fine, then, since I'm from a physical background, That's fine. Go ahead. Like, fine.
All right. I think your voice is breaking up.
You can type
But
it basically.
yeah, but I think I got it. You're essentially looking for more of a technical aspect of things. So as I mentioned earlier, that we will be doing some hands-on. Actually, a big part of this whole thing is going to be doing the end-to-end, which is generating a thought process so that you know the type of problem you are trying to solve for and how do you get to the solution, and then also kind of actually building the solution, right? So we'll be going into the both of those areas. There are folks who might be more interested in, I want to build my thought process. I'm already in my like a middle level management layer, so I don't have to go into the technical aspects. Perfect, good for them. For them, they don't have to be worried about the actual coding aspect of things. They can skip it, or they can just understand a little bit of it for the sake of understanding. And then there are folks who are kind of more interested in, okay, I don't want to get too much hung up on the why are we doing it this, but rather I would like to understand more of how do I do this. And for them also, given the fact that we'll be getting our hands dirty, we'll talk about that. Ram, do you have a question?
Hey, hi. Sorry, I forgot what I do. Okay. I echo with all the persons who has already raised it. Could be a duplication of it, and already answered it. You said the coding, you can ignore it, but for me, like this is the platform which we join for to learn this, right? For example, I'm a non-coder and I'm completely a novice on this. When you said this Python and math, even I'm not from the math background. Now you're saying something. It will be like who's the English speaker. You're speaking in Chinese. It will be will be not in a sync. So are you going to teach us enough from the basics so that I am as a non-coder, the management consultant on the cybersecurity, who's going to teach the coding. It is what's required for the entire this course to understand A to Z. I'm not talking about the
Yeah,
job role or the functions. I'm sticking to your course material.
yeah. That's a good question. And I think, as I've mentioned when we talked through a little bit earlier today, through some of the other questions, that this course will have a flavor of both, right? This course will essentially give you end to end of, I have a business problem that I want to solve. How do I get to that? And sometimes the business problem itself is not, black and white. Sometimes it just so happens that I just work in a particular industry and I want to know what can Gen AI do for me? What are some of the things that I can explore and make it more effective or efficient or reduce the cost, etc., using something like Gen AI or Agentic AI. And that's totally fine, right? So we'll cover that. Essentially, the idea here is to kind of put a framework out there, right? Where we will pick a particular business problem, and then afterwards, we'll start from 30,000 feet view, keep on going down and down, but we'll actually go ahead and implement the solution. So there are parts, of course, that's going to be relevant for you, and you can definitely explore those, is the actual use case generation and sort of trying to understand how can I use something like Gen AI for more on my own use case, and how do I kind of build my own thought process? Because being a consultant for you might not be just like married to one particular industry or the organization, but you might be working with multiple different clients, right? So how do I kind of develop that thought process so that I can essentially just talk to my client and essentially tell them that these are some of the things that you can do with Gen AI. So it's going to be a mixed bag of both. There's, if you're interested, absolutely by all means, go. Let's learn together the coding aspect and the technical aspect of things as well. But I'll be covering both, right? And I'm absolutely happy to answer the questions for both. Given the fact that I'm leading teams here and as well as in India, I'm kind of looking at it from both the angles, which is how do I first of all make sure that I understand myself, what can Gen AI do for me? How do I sell this idea to my partners so that I get the sponsorship for the project? And how do I actually build the solution, right? All three aspects of things.
I think we have time now.
Yeah, we are at time. So, but thank you so much, everyone, and apologies if I could not answer everyone's questions. But I have mentioned that looking forward to work with you, learn with you all. Feel free to drop your questions. and just be on the lookout. And if in next few weeks we'll get started.
Yeah, and I think Lokesh sir will let you guys know in advance when we have this schedule up, right?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. All right, guys. We are
Thank
already
you
30
very
minutes
much,
over the
Neha.
time.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. It was a pleasure talking to all. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye.